You're listening to the When Life Hands You Lennon's podcast.
But in an entry-level film production, it's one strike and you're out. You're fired. I'm not calling you back.
If your goal today is to make a basket, we're gonna make that basket.
The minute you create something, as soon as it's made tangible, you have a copyright in it.
How do I get our guys to sound that big, that full when they do the harmonies?
And I'm your host, Lennon Seahawk. Let's get to the show. Hello and welcome to this very special episode of When Life Hands You Lennons. This episode is episode number 100 for the show. I can't believe that I've made it this far. I honestly thought that this was going to be a project that I would take on for 6 months and then it would just be whatever it was. I never thought I would have 100 conversations with different people and industry experts. And I'm so thankful for all of the conversations that I've had. I'm thankful for everybody that has listed the podcast in their publication as a go-to music industry resource. I'm thankful for all the time that the guests have shared on the show, all the knowledge that they've shared, all the supporters. I could not have done it without all of you. So I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot to me. And I'm going to continue working on this podcast and bringing you amazing conversations with industry experts across the entertainment industries. So about this week's guest is the Bandsintown co-founder, Fabrice Sergent. Now, we talk about what Bandsintown is. It is such an impeccable resource for both consumers who love music and also artists who want to get their name out and promote their shows around the country and around the world. So Fabrice talks about what Bandsintown is and how it utilizes various technologies to put artists and bands in front of the right people. He talks about the data that is used. Fans connect their accounts to various social medias and whatnot, and that data is used to better feed the algorithm and then push your music and other bands to their profiles. He also talks about NFTs and where he thinks those are going. He also discusses the future of the music industry in regards to tech. Where is technology going in the music industry? Because it's such a bubble and it bursts and it needs innovation again, and then we tweak it and we move on. NFTs are a great example of that, this technology, of how fast it can change. And Fabrice has been in music tech his whole life, so he has a really good output on all of that stuff. So before I let you go, I want to remind you to sign up to my email list. That can be done on my website, lennonseahawk.com. The email list helps me notify you when new episodes are live. I'd also appreciate a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. I believe Spotify enables you to leave 5-star ratings in the app. You can follow me on Instagram as well, Lennon Seahawk. I post musings on there as well. Lastly, if you or somebody you know would be a good guest for the show, there is a guest request form in the show notes below. Fill that out and I will reach out if you are a good guest for the show. So without further ado, let's dive into my conversation with Bandsintown co-founder Fabrice Sergent. Okay, we are live. So how do you pronounce your name? Is it Fabrice? Fabrice. And then your last name is Sergent?
Yes.
Sergent. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm really, really, really excited to chat with you. I've been a big fan of Bandsintown. I've used it many times to book shows. And I got your bio from your publicist a few weeks ago, and I'm really excited to dig into some of the projects that you've been working on, and technologies, to kind of get your thoughts on the music industry. So first, can you
thank
give?
you for having us.
Yes, of course.
To be with you today.
Of course. Thank you for taking the time. So can you give kind of a brief 1 to 2 to maybe 3 minute, maybe 1 to 2 minute overview of who you are and kind of how you've got to where you are right now?
Oh, I'm at the core, I'm a tech and media entrepreneur. I've been building companies for several years, but I'm also very much a music fan. I always was, especially a live music fan. And so I'm very privileged because I can combine my passion with what I do for work,
Mm-hmm.
or I combine what I do for work with my passions. And so trying to help artists better connect with their fans and help fans better discover artists and shows is really a privilege, a
Sure.
pleasure of every day.
Sure. So where are you based at?
So I'm based between New York and Miami.
Okay. And where are you right now?
I'm in Miami.
Miami. Ugh, I love Miami. I lived in Florida for 5 years, and I went to Miami numerous times. I love Miami. I love the food. I love the people. I love the music. Such a beautiful city.
Well, look, Bandsintown is based, has offices in San Diego, Montreal,
Oh
and
wow.
its team and a lot of team members spread across, different cities now that, post-pandemic things changed.
Sure.
So we have people in Miami, we have people in Ohio, we have people, actually several team members in Los Angeles. We have people in Paris, London, Tokyo, Berlin. So
Wow.
we're kind of quite spread,
Yeah.
but we maintain office spaces in San Diego and Montreal.
Cool. And how many people do you have working for Bandsintown?
It's a team of about 65 people.
About 65 people. Okay. Wow. So how did you get to being a tech entrepreneur? Like what sparked this interest in technology?
I was always interested by technology and by innovations, not for the sake of being. I'm not an engineer,
Mhm.
so I'm interested by tech which transforms societies. I was very privileged to be one of the very first to bring and spend the first few years of my career in France to bring internet access, actually, and in France.
Wow.
And so that was the time when I felt a sense of purpose in what I was doing, connecting the dots between, you know, a daily job, but also a greater purpose, which at the time was to connect people to the internet, and precisely believing that the internet was disruptive, was also making people smarter or more connected, certainly better citizens, and hopefully more tolerant and understanding to the world. We can debate that, years later, and I still believe it does contribute to that. But that's what really, when I felt that actually you can really change things, disrupt things for the better, and using this new tech.
Mhm.
And that's still driving, actually, I think, my passion, my interest today
Mhm.
as an entrepreneur.
So how do you get into something to disrupt something? Like can you define what it means to uh disrupt something?
It's interesting because I think you can really change the world one step at a time. There's a lot of discussions and in among students and entrepreneurs around this idea that if you do something, you need to try to have and make an impact. But the reality is that you can make an impact by doing small things that are really transformative. So it depends what lens he wants to put on it. So there are different ways. Bandsintown changed things because we were very early trying to use data to understand the music preferences of our fans, to create an algorithm and to be able to recommend them shows of artists they don't know,
Mhm.
therefore expanding the pie for the entire community and certainly helping young artists, emerging artists to be discovered, right?
Mhm.
So that's kind of a grand. It's a big ambition. It's a great purpose, actually, which is to bring more diversity in culture, and certainly cultural diversity, by enabling emerging artists to take off. Now, now every day, and by doing many things, you can really change and disrupt without shooting for the stars like that. And by doing things a little bit different when confronted to a certain challenge. I'll give you an example. Um, we noticed that it was super important for artists to stay in touch with their fans
Mm.
before the pandemic. And before the pandemic, we introduced this notion of what we call post to tracker, which is a way to connect with the fans directly from the Bandsintown platforms to enable actually artists to send free communication to their fans from their interface, from the Bandsintown um, backend. That went really well. But during the pandemic, we realized how important it was, how critical it was to precisely give artists an opportunity to build what we call first party data, to accumulate emails and phone numbers, and to really be able to stay in touch with their fans. Because when things stop, precisely when live music stopped, they lost, for most of them, 80% of their revenues. And so it was super critical to be able to reach out to the fans outside of the venues, outside of the touring cycle, and to sell them either merch or to ask them to send donation to support the artist. And I don't think we should. So we learned from that,
Mm-hmm.
and we changed something. We developed or improved the interface that we were offering artists. So it was incremental as a change. When we launched, we are right now deploying what a new email composer, which is also integrated and still free within the Bandsintown platform, and that has a huge impact in terms of conversion and engagement. I was reading data this morning saying that essentially this new email builder that we're offering to artists um, increased by 100% the click-through rate and and the engagement,
Wow.
because we improved the design, the technology, and everything. So what I mean by that is that this was not a new idea. It was actually an idea that we improved incrementally, and I think that it's going to create lots of disruption in the sense that it will really empower the artists to build their own data set, to build better direct relationship with their fans off platforms at a time, when there are platforms which are going up and down. Think about Facebook versus Instagram versus TikTok. I mean, it's all over the place. We want artists to control their destiny, and there's no sustainable future without controlling first-party data. So that that tells me that I mean, it's innovation and disruption is also about building better what you already do.
Mm. So Bandsintown for me is I use it, but I'm not like deep into the platform. So for is it more for um, people who are looking to find new bands, or is it really kind of a social platform for musicians to stay connected with their fans? I'm curious to hear a little bit how this works.
Well, we are first and foremost an artist-centric platform. In other
Okay.
words, our core constituencies are the artist. Precisely as an entrepreneur, I find lots of similarities. I respect immensely the artist. When I love music, if I love music, if I love live music, I also love the artist doing the music and 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 performing it live. I respect the individuals. I have a lot of admiration for those who can, essentially jump on the stage and take risk and try to actually to disrupt a lot by introducing new melodies, new songs, new lyrics, and share their messages, which are sometimes very intimate
Mhm.
with the crowd. So all of that to me is almost magical. But
Absolutely.
so we are very much doing everything we can to support the artist. Now, obviously, part of that support is that we're not only an artist service platform, we also bring an audience built in.
Mhm.
So if you start as an artist on Bandsintown, what we're going to do is we will recommend your profile, your shows, to fans that are expected to like them.
Mm.
We will do that so that you can build an audience, or we build an audience for you, of followers that will discover your music or may rediscover it. So Now, on the fan side, obviously, it helps being alerted and discover shows of artists you already know. But 50% of our fans go to shows of artists they had never heard before Bandsintown recommendation. So it's going both ways. And this platform effect, if you want, I think is beneficial to both.
Mm,
Even though, again, we're pretty much investing most of our resources to first and foremost serve the artist.
mm. Okay. So when you say that you're recommending shows to people who may like that music, what types of things are you using to then put an artist in front of somebody? What types of data are you using? Are you using based on their interactions on the website and other shows that they potentially went to and liked and bought tickets for? Or how are you
Yeah,
recommending those new artists to new fans?
sure. So we have 70 million registered users
Wow.
who kindly shared their music preferences with us.
Okay.
With their permission, we either learn from the artists they follow
Mm,
on Bandsintown,
okay.
or when they sync their YouTube accounts, Google accounts, or Facebook accounts, or Spotify accounts, or Apple Music accounts. I mean, we have integrations with all the music streaming services, for example. Um, what's interesting is that they usually share more than one account, so
Mhm,
we'll know more because their patterns are slightly different on YouTube versus when they subscribe to a music streaming service. So when they sync both, we learn a lot. And so through a very sophisticated data algorithm, we will create these recommendations, so which are sent either by emails on a weekly basis. You may receive emails from Bandsintown on when artists announce shows. Fans will receive recommendations, and alerts from artists they either voluntarily followed or artists we recommend them to discover. And then, that's one way. Or you can also check these recommendations from the app or from the website. Now you have a logged in version on the website. You can log in and get all these personalized recommendations from the website.
Okay. So is Bands in Town just for touring musicians, or is it for musicians who may not want to tour?
Well, look, Bandsintown helps musicians all along their life cycle, from the for music launch, music release,
Mhm,
merch drops, tour announcements. So it's really possible to smartly use the platform to build an audience first, and then to engage with this audience and drive sales or discovery. Now, it's obvious that it's a great. Your question is legitimate. The more an artist tour, the more they have a chance to get discovered,
mhm,
because first of all, they can claim their page for free. Once they do that, they're going to share with us, they're going to create an account. We have 560,000 artists who did so,
mm,
97% of the Billboard Top 200, and 90% of the top 4,000 touring artists in America did create an account,
wow.
added their details, who they are, the type of music they play, etc., and are using our tools to build an audience on Bandsintown, which means that they installed our widgets or APIs on their website. They post on their social, the Smart Link, which is some sort of a social tool that enables to post tour dates easily
Mm,
and generate ticket sales. So they necessarily did something that was related to a tour at some point. But that doesn't mean that you cannot use Bandsintown when you're not on tour,
sure.
right?
Okay. So what if I'm going to create an account, I'm an artist and maybe I'm going up to tour in the next 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
What are your top three tips to have success on bands in town and be discovered by new fans and have your music be put in front of new fans?
So great question. It's very important to anticipate things.
Hmm.
So we see too many musicians or artists or bands going on tour next week and wake up and say, oh, I need to add my dates, or I need to do something on Bandsintown because next week I'm going to need to sell tickets to these fans.
Yeah.
Well, these fans, which are usually concert goers,
Hmm.
so are probably the most engaged fans you may have. They
Mm.
are the ones who are ready to buy tickets. So you need to engage with them and relate and have them relate to you as an artist, probably earlier than that, to build a relationship, to warm them up, etc., to tease them. So yes, it's good to start months before
Okay.
the tour announcement by dropping, for example, music release. Usually things happen in that order. So if you're releasing EPs, albums, yes, it's important to use the Bandsintown messaging platform and to message the fans. Um, it's important also to position the tools on the website, even if you're not on tour, because we have a very nice call to action that's called Play My City,
Mm.
and it works really well. So fans will click that call to action and start following you, um, asking you to play their city.
Mm.
First of all, you get data points on where fans want to see you play,
Hmm.
which may help you route the tour eventually.
Hmm.
And I see a number of artists actually posting and publicizing this call to action way ahead of the tour announcement,
Wow.
so that they can build momentum.
Hmm.
Then they do some music release, and then they finally list the dates. My advice is to list the dates before the tickets go on sale, because we have another nice feature which is called Notify Me.
Okay.
So until the tickets go on sale, fans can still specifically ask to get notified when the tickets will go on sale. So that again helps build profile and data points for the artist. So now when the show and the tour is announced, that's the time obviously to not only add the dates to Bandsintown, but to publish them, because we give the artist an opportunity to be what we call auto-publish on or off, which is fine. Artists may want to have full control about the time when their dates are being pushed to the fans, but they also need to not forget to do so.
Hmm.
so, so if you're on auto-publish, you have to be. I recommend to be auto-publish on rather than off, but you have the options to be off. Once the show is announced, then you get into the right cycle of on sale, maintenance, and what we call backend. So then that's time to do contest and or quiz or sweepstakes of some sort, to have the fans take action, get
Mm.
engaged, to either try to win a ticket, which you accumulate data that you can activate later, or to build awareness and therefore sell eventually more tickets.
Okay.
Now, you need to know that fans buy more and more tickets right before the show. They buy tickets maybe a week before, two
Mm.
weeks before. It used to be 3 months before. So
Wow.
the last 2 weeks, and that's stressful, are very important. And that's good to keep some of these activations for that part of the period of time.
Okay. That's really good information. So kind of going back a little bit, was I talked about some musicians not wanting to tour, or maybe they just don't have the resources or time to do so. But live streaming has definitely become a big thing.
Yes.
Can you talk about? And I know Bandsintown did some pretty cool stuff with live streaming. So can you talk about what live streaming was pre-pandemic, what it was during the pandemic, and kind of where we are now? Is it going to stay? Is it going to go? Is it going to Where's it? What's going on with it?
Yeah, look, during the pandemic, it was a critical, essential, actually, way to stay in touch with the fans, and we pioneered that
Hmm.
in the sense that on March 25th, we launched, we completely revamped our platform to add live stream as a format, so that artists can list a live stream the same way as they used to list an event. And it sounds pretty trivial, but talk about disruption to take on your question at the beginning of this conversation. A live stream is not, if you want to do it right, listing a live stream is not like listing a physical event. And one of the example is that live stream is truly global.
Mm-hmm.
So the time zone is important. Um, the live stream needs to be, in fact, reminded to the fans 15 minutes before the show. While physical events, obviously, we send a reminder if you click RSVP, which is a great, by the way, call to action to build intent, to identify intent on Bandsintown. So if a fan clicks RSVP for a physical event, we will send a reminder a week before saying, hey, you said you might be interested about this show.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you buy the ticket? For the live stream, it's different. Live stream is if a fan RSVP for a live stream, we had to send an alert 15 minutes before the show because they essentially forget.
Wow.
So we did all of that. We launched our platform on March 25th, and we enabled artists. In fact, 100. We enabled to market 100,000 live streams during the pandemic.
Wow.
It was a major boost to the artist interactions with the fans. We did not lose engagement on the platform, and fans were able to get entertained, if you want, during this difficult period of time. We also we produced our own live stream. So we launched our own Twitch channel. We launched a subscription to watch live stream on our own platform. And we produced ourselves about 1,400 shows.
Wow.
So we have a good experience, good understanding of live stream. Now, what we see is that it's changed. So there are not as many as there used to be, like probably twice less.
Okay.
But what's interesting is that it's now part of the marketing tools that artists have at their disposal. And so just the same way as you used to offer, a YouTube launch party for a music release, or now you can offer meet and greets, and you can even offer a ticketed events for those who cannot come to the show. So there are a number of strategies that artists are putting at work using these live streaming platforms, which are just complementary to what used to exist prior to the pandemic. And I believe that it's only going to grow. So in other words, fans love live stream. They love the interaction it creates. And so it's part of the landscape, if you want.
Okay. So it's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's here to stay.
No.
And do you think it's going to keep growing, or do you think it's going to kind of remain kind of plateau?
No, I think it's going to keep growing, because the more, look, if for many fans, first of all, going to live shows is expensive, right? Especially talk about inflation times.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, disposable income is not extensive. So if you really like music, if you really like, so yes, the live stream, maybe the GA, the low, the inexpensive tickets that you may not be able to afford in a physical setting. Now, it also enables fans to watch shows that they would have missed otherwise, because they can't just go, or they don't have the venue that they may not even simply have the show happening where they live.
Yeah.
So for all these reasons, live streaming brings something that is just not possible with live events. It's different. It also can bring a more approachable experience with the artist, like virtual meet and greet. We did all our live streams with a journalist asking questions to the artist and representing the fans, like taking questions from the chat after all events. And so we noticed that the experience is also somewhat different. So I think it's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to grow over time.
Interesting. So during the pandemic, and now maybe post-pandemic, what was kind of the average price that artists were charging for a live stream ticket? And then how much were they making on average during, like, do you guys offer tips and stuff for people to send in like $5 tips for a song or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. So the answer, we added the tips quite early as well,
Okay.
so that artists can choose actually the way they want to receive those tips.
Okay.
One of the reasons why we chose Twitch at the beginning was because their tipping system, donation system, was pretty was already working
Yeah.
and was pretty efficient. So, but very quickly we added we offered the artist to add a donation button on the artist profile on Bandsintown to collect money. So, and that was also the case for the live stream. Um, Now, 50% of the shows listed on the platform were ticketed, actually.
Wow.
The price was around $20,
Okay.
15 to $20
Okay.
for a show, a live stream show. And I don't think that this has changed much. I mean, it has to stay relatively affordable compared to the physical experience, though, because
Sure.
obviously, anybody can watch a live stream, but not, as we said, not everybody can go to a show. So
Right.
there's a premium that goes with the with attending in person.
Hmm. Yeah. Plus the experience and the lights and the sound and the drinks and the atmosphere and the venue. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
There's a whole premium there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, cool. So during these live stream events, or actually, let's kind of move on. So you've worked on a lot of other projects, and I want to get into NFTs because you've definitely worked on some of that. So um, I've heard so many different things about NFTs. They were such a big thing earlier this year and last year. They like just came out of nowhere. And I know they've been around for a while, but they kind of really blew up. And especially, with Blau having his sale and Beeple and a bunch of other artists doing that. Talk about the NFT project that you worked on a little bit. And then I'm curious to get your thoughts on where NFTs are going specifically for musicians.
Yeah. So we've been testing um, these NFTs actually in conjunction with live streaming,
Oh,
but a
perfect.
very different, yes, in very different manner, and very differently from what most of what has been done in the marketplace. I felt that there was a lot of initiatives helping big artists make more money,
Yeah.
which is fine, but not a lot of things done using these technologies to again help emerging artists and smaller artists get discovered or sell more music and interact with the fans. So what we did, we do have an emerging artist program called Big Break,
Mhm.
which dates back before the pandemic.
Okay.
Big Break is essentially offering artists to become their promoter, their free promoter for a year,
Wow.
uh, and we select them based on who's growing the fastest over the last 6 months on the platform, between 500 and 5,000 followers. So it's still baby acts. We've been very talented, I should say, to identify artists that were really really small when we people like Omar Apollo, Cautious Clay, and a lot of them, Youngblood,
Mm.
were big break artists.
Mhm.
And so what they get is free promotion. They get to go to South by Southwest with us,
Wow.
and they perform on stage at the Bandsintown show. So there's a number of benefits that comes with being a big break artist. But this year we changed a little bit the formula. We also offered them uh, to do we produce their live stream. We pay for it. We obviously broadcast it on our platform and promote it. And fans who are attending such live streams can claim a free NFT, um, which will be the proof that they attended a show of such an emerging artist very early on in their career.
Mm.
So it's a virtual laminates which can is kind of collectible, which will be you know it's not something that is negotiable. It's not something that you can speculate upon. It's more a token of recognition and it's free. So if you attend all our live stream this year and collect and claim all these NFTs, there's a surprise NFT that comes at the end of the year, which will reward our fans, which showed the highest amount of attention and support for these emerging artists. And so that's our way. That's our take on it. We want to continue to investigate, but we're pretty proud actually to have created something that was not connected, if you want, to a very speculative environment, which is now suffering and is being challenged by what the type of the crisis that you know
Yeah.
about. The fundamentals have not changed, and we will continue to do our big breaks live streams, and actually we have one tonight. That's that's going to continue for the entire year.
Wow. So one of the things that I've had questions on is with NFTs, I feel like the barrier of entry to buy one is far more expensive for a lot of people. Um, a lot of people have, like for example, like if an NFT costs one Ethereum, well, one Ethereum is what, $1,500, something like that. So a lot of people don't have $1,500, especially right now. They don't have disposable income. So people who have a whole bank full of Ethereum can easily buy one, but somebody who's just wanting to get started and maybe support their artist a little bit further by buying their NFT, they maybe can't, because even at half an Ethereum is $600, which is not something to scoff at. I mean, for a lot of people, that's half their rent. For me, that's like a fourth of my rent out here in LA. But it's I feel like the barrier of entry to getting into NFTs is very high in accordance to, just buying tickets. So do you think that that will continue to come down, or will it come down, or will it continue to go up, and then the barrier will continue to get further and further spread apart and make it more difficult for artists and fans to kind of buy into these NFTs of their favorite artists?
Well, that's a great question. Look, we are just at the infancy of this whole Web3 world. I think it's going to be transformative for the artist. The initial application and utility that have been created by the industry was somewhat limited to these platforms. So either selling currencies or selling essentially artwork
Mhm.
to a certain degree, and some exploring selling some music, but in a very limited fashion. What's pretty clear is that um, there's a market for that, and even though this market is probably very challenged today, I have no judgment on that. It's markets, especially related to art, can go up and down, and that's not the only art market that see strong fluctuations. Same thing for currencies. It's pretty clear that Web3 needs new applications um, that provide greater utility to convince a larger crowd and a larger audience of users and fans beyond the early adopters. And I think we are in that phase. I don't think that the collapse of the markets that relates to either the currencies or the collectibles mean anything about the level of impact that Web3 will have on the music industry, on the artists' lives, and the fans, and the ability for fans to connect with their artists. I think it's we you know with new markets like that, new technologies, it's going through phases. And yes, we are right now in a very challenging moment due to the fluctuation of the markets. But to me, it's just the beginning,
Mm.
not the end.
Yes. Okay. So you think that they're going to continue to grow, and how do you see NFTs kind of evolving other than maybe the price? Do you see that the offerings of NFTs will change, people will get more creative with them? Do you think pricing will fluctuate? Do you think that there will be really expensive ones, really cheap ones? um, where do you kind of see them going, even in the next year or two?
To me, it's at the end of the day, an NFT is a contract registered on the blockchain between an issuer, an artist,
Hmm.
and a fan.
Hmm.
No, that doesn't say much about what is the purpose of that contract. What to go back to my utility question, it can to me it can be free, and we are, for example, we are giving away our NFTs right now for free, zero, and
Yeah.
it doesn't, and it's okay. It can
Hmm.
be free, and it can be also potentially very expensive. Let's say you want to buy a 1 year membership to the VIP section of every festival your artist wants to play this year. Well, that's going to cost some money, right? At some
Hmm.
point, it has some real life value, which will be reflected in this contract. So to me, it's not. You'll see the, a variety of cases that are almost infinite, depending on the creativity of the artists and their teams and their managers. What we need is more utility. We need more value in real life to help fans adopt these technologies without even thinking of them, right?
Hmm.
In fact, they don't need to know what's underlying this kind of opportunity or this kind of application.
Hmm.
Um, right now, it was more I think, because of the uh, the fact that this Web3 things are new. There was a lot of emphasis on the tech side, but frankly, fans, you and me, consumer, they don't give a shit about tech,
Hmm.
really. I'm a tech entrepreneur. I know that.
Hmm.
People, it's not about that. It's
Hmm.
about the utility. It's about the project. It's about the experience that is being offered. Period. So
Hmm.
find the right experiences, and sometimes indeed experiences that could never happen before Web3, and Web3 will take off. And like we give a material proof registered on the blockchain that you that a fan attends a show, a live stream of an artist that is at a very early stage of its career. Well, that was not possible before the blockchain and the NFTs, because that proof is recorded in the NFT and is for good, for real. It's never going to go away.
Hmm.
Okay, so it brings some value. Despite that, we still give it away for free, by the way.
Hmm.
But that's all. And fans wants to hear that. They want to see the experience. They find it cool
Hmm.
to, show a token of recognition, some level of support by claiming that NFT to an artist, even though, there's no speculation or there's no upside attached to it.
Okay. That's interesting. And I see, there's a lot of people offering different kinds of NFTs as well. So I'm really excited to see how that continues to evolve. A lot of people will see, it'll become free. They'll offer NFTs for free, and where does that go after that? Are they going to, what's next after that? So, um, cool. NFTs are, we could have whole episode for 4 hours long, just discussing NFTs alone. And it's such an infant program and such an infant idea and thing right now that it's really hard to kind of speculate what's going to happen even next week, because it could change drastically. Um, so kind of moving on and kind of closing out the episode here is, what, from a tech entrepreneur running one of the most successful tech programs and companies in the music industry, I would argue, what do you kind of see? Like, what are your top three kind of predictions for the next phase of the music industry post pandemic?
Lennon, I don't want to, but here again, the camera went off, and I
Oh.
think we're not filming here, even for the whole thing on the NFT. I'm sorry, but there's something really. Um, I don't know if that's recording or not, but I see that my camera has like a green lit that is not on right now, so I don't know
Oh.
why.
Oh, okay. It's interesting.
Maybe I can change camera if you want. Maybe use my laptop as a camera to address your last question, but I don't know what you're gonna end up with.
That's all right. If anything, we'll just do an audio only episode. It should be
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Um, Look, the three things that are coming up next to me is look for the moment there is a big an unprecedented level of offer in terms of touring artists that is meant by an unprecedented level of demand. I mean, fans who are so eager to get back to what they really love, to get back to the mosh pit, that they're buying lots of tickets at any price. We have ahead of us a challenging economy, and the landscape is going to change.
Mm.
It's very hard to tell to which extent this live music will be recession proof,
Yeah.
and if and to which extent fans will use disposable income to go to a show versus going on vacation.
Mm.
But we cannot ignore, as just because right now our live music world is booming, we cannot ignore the risk of that the environment is creating around us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fortunately, we're not in the dramatic situation um, where we were before. I mean, when during COVID, right, where there was no shows at all. But we may see some challenges. So the first thing that I would say is that um, it's super important for the artist to anticipate this kind of challenging times.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we do that? How do we anticipate? Well, it's by building strong relationship with the fans,
Mm.
by showing them respect and connection, by trying to be more than just someone who do a few posts on Instagram and feels that everything's done. And I know it's very difficult, because at some point, when it's going to be more difficult to sell tickets, when potentially there might be more challenges, this is going to pay off, right?
Mm-hmm.
One way or the other, by selling merch, by maybe doing shows in more geographies. I mean, there are many ways. I feel myself that the live music is pretty counter-cyclical. So, in other words, it's not going to decline at the time when the economy will,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not going to decline as much. But I'm just curious to see where we're going to land. The other thing is that yes, Web3 is going to be big, and it's will be even more important, and it's one of these tools that will help precisely stay in touch with the fans, build privileged relationship, create new form of experiences, and therefore also fight these trends potentially, if anything, that may come from the overall economy.
Mm.
And the last thing is obviously metaverse.
Yeah.
um, while we did not even discuss it so far, but that's I guess it's the next step post live stream, right? We did prove that fans were cool to watch something happening on the screen,
Mm-hmm.
to take part of something that is more of a virtual experience than in an in-person experience. um, they love the tribal experience. They love the in-person experience, but they're also ready for another type of experiences. Well, in the next few years, it's pretty clear that there's a whole generation of fans and artists that will become successful in connecting in the metaverse, and that's
Mm.
which metaverse and which form, for what kind of music, that still unclear. But I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of people who believe that it's going to happen one way or the other. Not necessarily at the expense of physical shows.
Mm.
It's not the point. I'm a big believer that things are incremental and add up rather than substitute. I don't think it's going to be at the expense of physical shows. It's not the point, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different type of experience.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, it's going to happen.
Mm. Wow. Thank you so much for those insights. I'm excited for the next few years as well. It's such a hard thing to predict, but I appreciate your insight on that. Um, on that. So cool. That's kind of all the questions that I have for you today. Is there anything else that you want to add, or maybe go back on, or clarify that on anything?
No, thank you for having us. It's a great discussion.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, and you're welcome back anytime. If you ever want to come back, you're
Are
more
you
than
still
welcome.
involved in EDM in Minnesota?
Yes, I am.
That's cool.
Yes, I
I'm
am.
in my personal music. I guess we're off right now, but I'm my personal music passion is underground electronic music. It's not really EDM per se, but it's
Sure.
definitely electronic music.
Wow, that's cool. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, I founded that site and I still run it to this day. I'm not really sure what I want to do with it, but it's definitely something that I'm going to keep alive and hopefully when I have some extra disposable income, start funneling some money into it and hiring
Okay.
writers and rebranding it
So
and
how
whatnot.
many post amounts or what do you do?
Um,
What's the level of activity that you can afford on that site?
Yeah, currently, I post kind of whenever because I don't really have the time to do it because it's just me running it
Okay.
at the time right now. But I ultimately want to hire, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 writers in the next year or two to start writing more regularly. But right now, I used to cover like singles and albums. And now those aren't really they don't really perform well, so I'm doing, like, listicle articles, I'm doing, like, covering, like, music tech,
Okay.
copyrights, lawsuits, anything, like, legal, tech acquisitions, things like that. Anything cool that I just see that's not really like, "Hey, here's my new song, can you write about it?"
Okay.
Because they just don't perform well in there, and I also do I've done a few interviews on there as well. But
Nice.
yeah, it's just a little passion project that I do in addition to the podcast here. I also am a musician myself. I do dance music, yeah. So
Okay, okay. Do you play?
yeah, I play piano. I've got a piano sitting right next to me here, actually.
But you perform live?
No, I don't perform live. I'm working on building a category to get into sync licensing, so I can start
Okay.
pitching to music libraries and music supervisors. I think
Nice.
that's the route that I want to take. But yeah, I'm a
Look,
journalist and do a little bit of everything.
look, yeah. So I'm the. It's part of the reason why we did Bandsintown is was that my business partner and I are coming from Europe, as you may hear,
Mhm,
and we never found a guide for electronic music that we
mm,
found satisfactory, and so we started to explore what kind of live music guides there were in the US,
sure.
and that's it's was partly to serve ourselves
Wow. Yeah.
that we launched that we and DJs usually use Bands in Town, actually, even though it's called Bands in Town and not DJ in Town or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
um, Pretty much all DJs are registered on Bands in Town.
Cool. That's really cool. I love Bandstown. I'm gonna check it out. It's been a while since I've been on there, but I'm definitely gonna check it out and explore what kind of features and stuff you guys got on there to see if there's anything
Nice.
I can use. Um, but
Cool.
yeah,
All right, but thanks for for having us, and looking forward. Stay in touch.